I'm Satish Kumar Mariappan. I'm the co-founder of Drupal Partners. Recently, we rebranded our image, like from we were earlier called Drupal Main, we rebranded to Drupal Partners. So, my topic is mostly on the LMS. That's the market that it's growing, and some places it's more saturated in maybe in higher education. But in corporate learning and K-12 schools, it's more in a growing stage. So, we wanted to solve the problem of LMS using Drupal and how it has been in education sector. What are the things available in Drupal-based LMS? So, I'm just going to cover on those things. So, just to start off with, everybody knows this mostly. LMS, the learning management system that controls the academic persons for reporting and content creation and delivery. And the major functionalities are going to be the course content delivery, student registration, training, curriculum creations, and the certification managements, skill gap analysis and competency management, maybe the courseware authoring, that's where the LCMS is coming up, the resource management, how the students are performing, and virtual organizations, like you can create your own organization within the LMS for department-wise based LMS. So, it's just a basic intro of LMS. So, what are the current leaders in LMS? It's mostly led by the famous thing called Blackboard, and it's then followed by Moodle. It's again an open source developed in PHP. And then we have Brightspace. It was earlier called Desire to Learn. It's been rebranded to Brightspace to focus more on the corporate learning. And Canvas is also rebranded. It was earlier called Instructure. Everybody is focusing more on K-12 schools and the corporate learning. And the LMS market share in the education sector currently stands out like it. Blackboard as the major chunk, then followed by Moodle, and then it's followed by the Brightspace, Canvas, and the remaining other stuff. So, the open source is something which 23% of Moodle share. Maybe it could be more than that, maybe around 30%. It could be the open source LMS. It's being split across mostly by Moodle. .lrn is again an PHP based developed by MIT students. ILIAS is another Dutch based university has created it. It's mostly used in Dutch universities, and eFront is again PHP based LMS. Sakai is an open source developed, is the only open source developed in Java based LMS. And OLAT is again a Zurich based university has developed this for universities in Zurich. So, if you take most of the features are covered pretty much same on all these things. So, the major player is the Moodle. It has a disadvantage. It's Moodle is more advantageous, but with the trend that the industry is going on education sector, it's getting into a mode like it's more of an old fashioned technology. Like its scalability is very, it's not up to the expectation. Like if you have an university or a school where your students are taking tests together or learning together, scalability part on Moodle is little bit slacking. And the third party integration, that is the MOOC for open source, sharing your content across different learning platforms. That part of integration is lagging in Moodle, and there is a big tool set which LMS is which Moodle has, like has the courseware, and you have to have the content authoring. Everything has to be present, even though you don't need it. All those tool sets will be available for you. That sometimes confuse the user whether it is required for them. So, there is no plug and play kind of stuff in Moodle, and there is nothing big in performance metrics, right, reporting and those kind of how the students is performing, skill gap analysis, those kind of things were not there. And there is no inbuilt e-commerce system in it. Maybe an e-learning company who sells courses on online may need this one. So, there are few disadvantages we found with Moodle, which and an opportunity with Drupal we can solve it. See, this is a big market which is right now it's 2.6, but it's having 25% growth of every year, and the industry is also looking for some kind of an performance metrics, how the students are looking, are taking up the courses and how they are performing. Those kind of metrics are required, which the current system is not providing, open source mostly. And they want a better interactive system like with the help of HTML5 or other stuff. They want a better interactive system to get the students having good learning experience. And then is the massive open source collaboration tool, like it's an guideline for all the LMS that is being currently built. Like you need to share your content across various learning systems to get more information. So that's more required nowadays, and there is a need for a single system. Like you create a content and you deliver it. It should be in a single system. The current status, the contents are created in some place by content authors, and then it is put in the LMS. But everybody needs one single system, like an LCMS and LMS together. So that's a big cost, and again the license cost with Blackboard and other stuff. It needs to be eradicated. So definitely, can Drupal be an alternative LMS? Definitely, and yes, there are few Drupal-based LMS already available. That's it. ELMS and Opigno, Adrena, and Powerful LMS. Both ELMS and Opigno are open source that you can download at any point of time, and you can customize it for your needs. Adrena and Powerful LMS are more of an paid service, cloud-based service that you need to offer. And Adrena is more towards the educational K2 schools, and Powerful LMS is both schools and corporate sector. And ELMS is more for university, and Opigno is more for schools and online e-commerce selling or online courses. Those kind of stuff use mostly Opigno. I'll touch upon mostly on the ELMS and Opigno. So ELMS is something, it's an initiative by an person working in Penn State University. It's an initiative by him. It's mostly a distributed system. It's being used, and it is something like it's not a single point of contact or single system where the LMS system is available now. It's mostly a distributed kind of system. The current ELMS would be, and it is built on the Drupal. It is more plug and play of kind of stuff. If you don't need something, you can plug and play, and it is built on the top of OpenAtrium, the distributed system for security and safer communication. And there are so many themes and styles and guides of style guides of Drupal is available for your customization based on your need. So in architecture, this is how the general LMS architecture is being right now. It's a single system. You have all these things. If you need a third party to be integrated, you need to have the developer communicate and integrate it. But with LMS, LMS is an learning network architecture, e-learning, learning management system, learning network. It's like the service is being connected to the middleware, and your web request is served to the middleware. So it is mostly the major modules. I'll explain you what are the services. The major modules is the CIS is the internet backbone of how students get into your system. So it's mostly of logistics, your website, marketing, content stuff, and it's MOOC. This is where the content you create and instruction workflows, and the collaborative learning environment is where your students communicate with each other collaboratively. They work together, and your blocks, of course, it's the custom course protected blocks, and then it's the asset management system. There are all the media files, everything would be maintained in it, and it is integrated with reporting tool. Other than Google Analytics, they have gone with an open source called Pivik, and the HTML5 is for the better experience, learning experience for all the HTML interactions are there, or that's for OCR they have used. And this is how the data flow is mostly. You have the single system, that's the CIS is what it's called as onlinecollege.com, and all the modules are going to be in subdomain. Each are subdomains and with different distributions. It's not going to be a single distribution. So it's going to be the communication between each subdomain is going to be through an web RESTful API. So it's sometimes they use Tin Can API, the X API, or the web API they are using it. So if you want to upgrade any one part of the system, you can go ahead and upgrade it without touching upon the other system. Maybe in future if they want a different blogging system, they can easily update the blog.college.com, that's it, nothing else. Even it can communicate with other third party blogs. So the future is going to be a system, distributed system is what the industry would require, and it's been more created in such a way that the scalability and the performance is not being hampered at any point. So this is the data flow with LMS, and if you could see the screenshot, which it's an easy one, like how you edit your, for example, if you want to create a content, it's simple to editing your Drupal page. You can create actively as much as you want. All the HTML for interactions, everything would be possible here. It's not going to be the boring LMS which Moodle offers. It's more kind of an interactive stuff which we can have it over here. And what could be the benefits? It's the accessibility, because it's more of a distributed system. It will be having good accessibility and scalability, of course, of the virtual machine hosting and managing stuff. And the LCMS is part of it, so most of your automation of publishing the content again is taken care, and it's the central repository of your content, and you have the separate multimedia management, and your video conference is there, integration, and it has the PVIC, the data analytics is available, and it is going to be a more kind of a great learning experience for your students if LMS is employed in the universities. It's more often universities. Currently there are 2 successful implementations he has done, when he himself gave me these codes, that he in Penn State there are 7 departments he has rolled out, most of them are overwhelming positive yes reply. And in another pilot project, he has implemented this implemented in Wisconsin University in law school. It is also a successful case for him. So he is trying to build other remaining modules and take it further. So LMS is part of open source community, and you can download the code from the lms.ln.org or in GitHub, or even it's available in the Drupal.org.
You take questions now?
Yeah, sure.
How ready is this for any other college to use at this point?
It's most of the parts are tested and it's been piloted. It's ready to take up a pilot project, not completely and with open source. Maybe a developer who is going to do it for a small college, he can use this one. So the next one would be mostly the Opigno. It is more successful than LMS. It's more matured product than LMS. Opigno is developed by an Connecta. It's a Swiss-based company, and they are part of the Drupal association for a long time, and worked with many universities and colleges to build this CMS. It's mostly built in Drupal 7 with all the modules like OG, quiz, rules, and views. It is definitely an Scrum-based compliant model, and even ELMS is Scrum-based. They have applied for it. Mostly they will be certified. And the Opigno is more like an available in cloud service, which online e-selling services company can offer, can take up this service. And Opigno is following the traditional architecture mostly, and the biggest plus point here is its API. where it can communicate with all the information in the system to other system. It's more like a MOOC form based system. So everything is open to be accessible for other learning tools. And most of the modules, Opigno is a difference maker here, which I have written out. The content management is more like you could get the most of the LCMS features are available in this content management. You can have an HTML5 interactiveness, or the all the media files or quizzes, anything that you can create in content with a different content management system, you can have it over here. And it is having the integration for video conferencing, and the user management here is more mature because of the Drupal than other LMS system. And the messaging service, they are using the chat service. So online live chats, you can make it with your friends or with your professors. And collaboration is more interactive here. And the authoring from the course, it is submitted and it has been approved. All the workflow is maintained because of Drupal things. And it can be integrated to any analytics, and they have their own analytics built in here. And achievements, all the track records can be maintained there. And it is having an open integration for e-commerce, Drupal e-commerce, and quizzes and all those kinds you can create it better than the other LMS. And it is the way that it is the screenshot of this Opigno. All the blocks on the right hand side, you can customize it, you can move around, play around, or you can close if you don't need those things. This is the home page of an user, of an admin. So it's more like an interactive pages these are. And the benefit is mostly it's the scalability of Opigno system. It can scale for huge universities or schools, can scale. And it is more like a modular way it's built because of the Drupal concept. You can, anywhere you can plug and play things. And it is having the single sign-on system, the LDAP, and everything is available here. It's available in cloud, you can sell courses online. And it is more secure, it's following the MOOC principles. And there are around 1,000 successful installations till now been completed with Opigno. They are also pretty new to the industry. It's been launched, and there is a University of Belgium. In Belgium has already piloted this project, and they are using it in few departments. And you can download this Opigno in the Opigno site or in Drupal.org. I don't think they have a GitHub account to share it. So it's mostly a Opigno. For a Drupal developer, you can definitely try the two Elms or Opigno for your clients. Maybe for e-learning, Opigno is a better solution, more mature. LMS is going to be the next one. It would be more mature. And if it is for educators, you can please try and you can make this as a pilot project in your universities or colleges or schools. So, and one last thing I would like to discuss is about LCMS, the Learning Content Management System. I like to invite Tyler Wright to make a presentation.
Can you launch that?
You really are presenting.
I told you.
Your name's on the schedule.
I know. I'm a
cameo.
I'm a cameo. Or not. Okay.
You can press F5 for full screen.
F5? Where is that? Come here.
Yeah.
Where is that?
You said right. Full screen.
Oh, there. There. Yeah, okay. Were you all here for the session this morning? The keynotes? Okay. So there was a fair amount of talk about the LCMS. Are you guys familiar with LCMSs? Huh? A little bit. So I want to start off with a survey. Can the drop hurdle the RCATs, slay the three-headed X and Xleme, and capture the elusive RLO? Who says yes? Come on, somebody's got to say yes. Okay, who says no? No? Okay, who's going to refuse to answer this question because you're a crusty curmudgeon and you don't understand it? That's you. I know it was you. All right, you too. All right, so we'll come back and we'll address this question later. But I think you'll maybe come to a different answer later. Okay. I'm not a Drupal developer. I have a small e-learning company, and I'm interested in this. I've been looking for this for my own business for about 3 years because it's something that's essential to me. My company is Drug-Free Business Solutions. And one of the things I do, I also do custom e-learning development under another company name, but I have a catalog of online drug and alcohol compliance training courses that I offer. And I actually have 2 catalogs of these courses. And it's compliance training. It's for motor carriers and airlines and transit companies that have to provide drug and alcohol compliance training to their employees by law. So the problem for me is that I have to adjust these courses for different regulatory environments. Like I have courses for the FMCSA, which is Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. I have courses for FAA. The rules are different. I have to adapt these courses for different audiences. The requirements are different for training employees, for training supervisors, for training drug and alcohol program managers, what's called designated employer representatives. And so there's a body of content that has to be adapted for each of these different audiences. I also offer different levels of training. I have basic training, advanced training, and mastery training, depending on what the company wants to achieve by offering these courses. And what I sell is actually programs. A program meets the requirements for a specific regulatory environment and audience. But my programs are made up of different courses. My courses are made up from different lessons. And then my lessons are made up of individual screens of training. So it's modular in its design. Now this was my first Drupal project, was to build my company's website. And this is a D6 site, nobody make any cracks about it. But it was the first one I did. But you can see, for instance, I've got DOT training here. That's federal training for the Department of Transportation. I've got drug-free workplace training, which is like state authorized programs. Under that, I've got FMCSA. Under that, I've got training for employees, supervisors, DERs. And get there. And then I have, for any of these, I've got like the basic programs, the advanced programs, and so forth. So I've got all this stuff that I offer. And all my programs are made up of different courses. So I've got all this kind of modularity and hierarchy of training and so forth. But then I start getting questions from my customers. Said, can you do a classroom version of this for us? Well, all this stuff, my stuff is self-paced online delivery. So I say, okay, well, I can modify that course for you. I'll change text into bullets. And I created a bunch of XML files. The courses are actually authored in Flash. But I create XML files so the content is pulled in when different things are clicked on the screen and all that kind of thing. So yes, I can do classroom versions, which also comes with instructor guides. So I have to produce that material for the instructor. And then they come back and say, well, can you customize the course for us? We want it to reflect our own policies and procedures, our drug testing vendors, contacts, and all that kind of thing. So I say, okay, I'll do that. And can you create different language versions of these courses for us? So I started actually working with Lingotech and came up with a platform for translating these courses. And now can you make the courses mobile for us? So it's like, okay, I'm thinking through all of this and I'm going, I've made a huge mistake. How in the world am I going to do this as a small company, which is mostly me, and meet the requirements of my customers when I've got some problems? My courses are all built in Flash. So, this is kind of what the course looks like. It lets me do some interesting kind of interactions, and I can drag, drop exercises and all this kind of stuff. But all the content is embedded in the authoring tool. So my content is right there in Flash. I don't have any really way to tag it, to search for it. And another problem is that these courses, who's familiar with Flash and building things in Flash? Okay, so my course, I originally had these built like 10 years ago. I used a company to build it for me. This was really before anybody was talking about CMSs. And so my course is a whole series of essentially frames in Flash. Every frame is a different course. That's a whole course. And so when I go into this, I have a lesson that starts here and continues to there, and a lesson that starts here and continues to there, and so forth. All this content's in here, and it's one big file. When I upload it to a learning management system, I upload the whole thing. Okay? And if I want to change anything, I have to go in and replicate an entire course and make the modifications, whether it's Spanish, whether it's customization, whether it's a classroom version. So what I end up with is, and also I have no metadata associated with this. I can't go in and find content. So what I end up with is massive content duplication, which really limits my ability to grow my business. And I started thinking about this. I said, I can't be the only one with this problem. I said, am I alone? And I don't mean that in kind of like this existential intergalactic sense. I kind of mean like beat my head on the wall and feel sorry for myself sense. So, and I thought, well, I'm going to look and see if I am alone. And I looked around. I thought, well, there's some real pain points in this industry. There's this proliferation of content. It's coming because e-learning, and I'm speaking mostly from the corporate market myself. There's this proliferation of content because e-learning is replacing classroom training in the corporate environment at a really rapid pace. There's also the invasion of the RCATs. Does anybody know what the RCAT is? The RCAT is the Rapid Content Authoring Tool, which has really emerged over the last 3 or 4 years. And it's like Flash, except it's not. It's anybody can use it. You don't have to program, but you can build interactions, you use pre-built templates and all this kind of stuff. So companies are building massive amounts of courses using these rapid content authoring tools. I talked to a company a couple of weeks ago that has a room full of, well, this is like Captivate, Adobe Presenter, Articulate Storyline are some of the rapid content authoring tools. This company has 30 people that develop courses for them in Captivate. You've got rich media now entering the picture. If anybody saw Sarah Gilbert's presentation, got a lot of video being now used in training. And there's an expanded conception of learning in the corporate environment. It's not just about taking a formal training course. You train when you're trying to learn something new. You train when you want more depth about that information. You train when you need to apply what you've learned. You train when you need to solve a problem and you need an answer to a particular problem. And you retrain when things change. So there's all this kind of conception of training is something that happens all the time. It's not just a one-time event. And with that expanded conceptual learning, we've got the formal classes, which is kind of what we traditionally think of as training or even online courses, but now that's blended with informal training and what's growing in terms of what's called performance support, which is performance just in time at the moment of need on, say, a mobile device when you need to get a particular question answered or you need a particular piece of information. And social is now part of this in the conception of learning. There's even companies that have studied what they call high-impact learning organizations, which are companies that they use criteria to measure the level of learning and training that goes on in the company in a fairly sophisticated way, and they try to connect this to the financial performance and market performance of companies, and they found that these high-impact learning organizations perform better than other companies. And there's even, and I read this like a couple of weeks ago, some companies are seeing what they call education capital, the ability to take the knowledge of the company and turn it into training for their customers that they either give away in order to build brand loyalty or they sell, and e-learning becomes a profit center for the company. Like a company that manufactures cleaning products, why not create a series of videos that customers can see on their smartphones about how to clean specific items, how to deal with particular spots, and maybe even offer a catalog of courses for profit. So I said, after looking around, I said, I need a content strategy is what I need. I need a learning content strategy. In fact, what I need is an LCMS. I've got to find a way to solve this problem. Now, don't do that to me. Has anyone worked with an LCMS? Okay. I can find this button here. All right, let's try this again. Okay, so what is an LCMS? IBM defines it as a system to develop, manage, maintain, and deliver learning content in a modular form, as opposed to a monolithic training, and to maintain and manage that learning content over the life cycle of the content. What is different between an LMS and an LCMS? An LMS, which you've heard about, is, and probably most of you are more familiar with, is geared toward managing students and toward managing learning events. So you register students, you enroll students in a course, you create a course in the LCMS, you deliver that course maybe at a particular time, or maybe it's a...
You just used LCMS and LMS in the same.
What did I say?
So you're saying the LMS is more about managing the students and the courses?
Yes.
And then you deliver the course in the LCMS?
No, you deliver the course in the LMS. Yep. So you have the students register in the LMS, they'll enroll in a course in the LMS, you set up the courses in the LMS, and you can track the students' progress in the LMS. So you can see what courses the student has started, what kind of progress they've made, if they're taking quizzes, what kind of scores they've made on the quizzes, and so forth. That's the LMS. The LCMS is really geared toward the content. I am a content provider as an e-learning company. I create courses and I offer those courses to learners in corporations. To me, the LMS is pretty much a commodity. My courses are designed to work with just about any LMS. So to me, when I talk about the LCMS, I'm not talking about any kind of LMS functionality at all, just the LCMS. And that raises a question, well, what is learning content? Content designed specifically to be used for learning. It's kind of a very simple definition. But what that excludes is things like a random YouTube video, an article in a newspaper or a magazine article, things that you would link to or point to, because what makes learning content different is it has an element of instructional design to it. There's a learning objective associated with it. You're using particular assets, whether those visual or audio assets, to try to reinforce that learning or communicate the learning. You create interactions for the student. You may do a pre-test, you may do a post-test, but learning content is all that stuff that's really designed to be used for training at any of those 5 moments of need, whether it's a full training course or a 1-minute video used to answer a particular problem. All those things, all of learning content has an element of instructional design to it. And it brings up another concept, and this is a concept that was really pioneered by Cisco around 2000 or so. It's the concept of a reusable learning object. It's a set of learning content that includes an objective, it includes metadata that describes that learning object, who it's for, who created it, when it was created, are there intellectual property rights associated with it, what format is it, all those kind of things, and importantly, what kind of topics does it address? Because that's how we can find this reusable learning object in our learning content management system and use it. And that's the RLO, by the way, that was referenced on the front page. And it's important. I went to a TAG. Is everybody familiar with TAG, the Technology Association of Georgia? I went to a Workplace Learning Society meeting they had about 3 weeks ago. And they had a guy from Home Depot there, and he was talking about really the proliferation, the content issue they're dealing with, because they're now moving towards performance support. And all the performance support content is authored separately from their other training content. It's all done in Captivate. And I said, well, how are you managing all this content? He said, we really aren't. He said, that's an issue for us. And he started talking about it, and he asked the audience, which is about 100 people of corporate trainers and developers and so forth, said, has anybody found a way to create and use the reusable learning object? And not one person raised their hand. I mean, everybody knows this would be the way to do it if you could, but the technology has not been there to make this happen. And part of it is that designing learning content to be reusable means that you've got to be very strict in your authoring. It's got to be topic-based. It's got to be very focused on a particular topic. You're creating that learning object differently and separately from the presentation of that object. So it's a very much separation of the front and the back end. And you're writing that content abstracted from the context, because the context could be a just-in-time delivery on a smartphone, or it might be a piece of a larger formal training course. And what that means is that the authoring of the content has to be really, really different. And it's a very different way of writing e-learning content that most people are trained to do right now. For instance, and this example comes from Cisco. If you're creating an instruction for a user in an activity, and that activity is delivered on print, you might say, in the space below, write the letter of each icon that represents the corresponding command description. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you're talking about somebody creating something on paper. The same instruction in e-learning, in an interactive e-learning course, might be drag each command description to its corresponding icon. Well, what if you're trying to abstract that content completely from its context? In an RLO, you would say match the command description to its corresponding icon. You're not making any reference to the media on which the training is delivered. And this, when a company begins to use an LCMS, it's not so much just managing the content, it really is re-engineering the entire content authoring and management and maintenance process. And it gets into the skills of the people involved, the technology they use, and so forth, as well as the LCMS itself. So, what does an LCMS do? Well, it's used to create content. And in that sense, it replaces those RCATs. The RCATs, the rapid content authoring tools, just like Flash, the content is embedded in the authoring tool. There's no metadata. And there's no back-end content repository that goes with it. So the LCMS would replace that in terms of authoring content, being able to ingest content that's already been created into the LCMS repository, being able to search for content that's already been created by using the metadata that we've tagged content with, being able to repurpose that by using a particular relearning RLO in a different course, in a just-in-time performance support application, or being able to reuse it completely. When I say repurpose, I mean you take the RLO and you may do some rewriting of it. You save it as a different version or a modification. Reuse is to completely reuse it in its entirety as it is without doing any editing. There needs to be some front-end templates that go with that. Now, how you work the back end and the front end is a real challenge. And that maybe is responsive design, or maybe with Drupal 8, the solution has to do with decoupling the front end and the back end completely, connecting those with web services. And it also means applying the right metadata, and that's something that, for instance, a company has to spend a lot of time with right up front. How do we need to be able to access this content? What kind of topics, what kind of keywords and so forth do we need to create right up front in order to be able to use this content when we need to? We need to manage that. We need to create a workflow to manage that content. And this is where we think about the LCMS as kind of a re-engineering of the e-learning authoring process. Tasks, roles, permissions, revisioning, translation, updating, archiving content over the life cycle of that content. We need to be able to assemble content. We need to be able to find the reusable learning objects, create lessons from them, take the lessons, create courses from them, take the courses, create programs from them, in whatever kind of hierarchy we want to. But all of this becomes very modular. And then we need to deliver that content. And when I say deliver, it's not so much, it may be deliver it to an LMS as a SCORM package or an EICC package that is then delivered to the students through the LMS. Or it could be delivered from a cloud to a tablet or a smartphone without an LMS component. We need to be able to deliver it to multiple devices. It'd be great if we can make that delivery dynamic so the content is actually assembled at runtime. And with this, we can combine information about the student and maybe about the student's environment to create courses and learning that's customized, personalized particularly for that student. And it needs to integrate with the LMS. Idea is we create once and we publish everywhere. So with the content we write, and we write it with great specificity, we can take portions of that content and deliver it where the student needs it. So what's out there? What can I use as an LCMS? Well, there's the RCATs, and I've said that's not an LCMS. I mean, that's just like Flash, except it's easier to use, so there's a lot more content created with them. There's no backend, there's no content repository, there's no metadata. Web content management systems, enterprise content management systems, document management systems, digital asset management systems, marketing asset management systems. All these kind of systems are out there, but they're not really geared toward learning content. What about an integrated LMS, LCMS? There are a fair number of LMSs on the market, and there are a lot of LMSs on the market, that have a content authoring component, and some of them even have some rudimentary content management capabilities. But, I mean, I've looked at some. There's some companies here in Atlanta that offer content management systems. Problem is, as a content author, I don't want my content locked up in an LCMS. I want my content separated from the LCMS so I can deliver my courses to any LCMS. If I package my content with SCORM standards or the Experience API or however I do that. So that's not really the answer for me, and I don't think it's going to be the answer in the market. And then I said, well, what about open source LCMSs? Nothing. There's just really not much out there. This is the exanexaline. This is the 3 major proprietary commercial LCMS vendors. There's Exact Learning Solution, which is out of Italy. They've been around for a pretty long time. Connexa, which is an IBM product, started out as Outstart, was acquired by something else, and was just acquired by IBM maybe a year or so ago. And there's Xylem. Xylem has been around for a pretty long time. Well, they've been around for about 6-7 years, I guess. These are big, expensive systems. A big LMS implementation for a company can cost $1 million. These are used by global companies, and my guess is they're spending hundreds of thousands or multiple millions of dollars to implement these kind of systems. So I thought, well, does that create an opportunity? All these things we talk about that an LCMS does are a lot of them are things that Drupal does out of the box. So the question becomes, can Drupal hurdle the RCATs, slay the exanexaline, and capture the elusive RLO? Now, people understand that statement now, right? What do you think?
Okay. Possible.
Well, I'm not a developer, but I need this for my business, and I couldn't find one. And so I started thinking, well, is there some aspects of this I can begin to build myself? And at the same time, I'm trying to find other developers or companies who might take an interest in building something like this. So I just started playing around with it. Again, I'm not a developer. But I created kind of a rudimentary LCMS that, and this is really what I focused on, is the content assembly piece and the definition of the learning objects. But I've got, in my courses, the screen, this says select screen, I think there. The screen is kind of my RLO. It's a single screen of training. It's on a particular topic. It's authored with some instructional design, maybe interactivities, visuals, audio, maybe video. And then I aggregate those into lessons and courses and programs. And within the screens, I can't even read this. Oh, data is really important to me in my courses. I have to have accurate data if I'm talking about marijuana or alcohol, up-to-date stuff, that kind of thing. So I track the data and where it's used in my courses. I track data sources, and I track media, digital assets. So this is kind of like Alpha 1. But I've built it so that I can go in and select a screen, a reusable learning object. And I've got, basic kind of rudimentary metadata that's important to me up here. And I've told you about different regulatory authorities, different audiences, different types of interactions, search terms, and so forth. And I can go through and I can find a list of screens and filter them to find essentially an RLO that I can then use to potentially to build a lesson and then a course and then a program. And if I look, for instance, this is looking at a particular screen. I think that's what this is.
It's like a screen ID.
Yeah, so it's a screen. It's a reusable learning object. And I've got all kind of fields associated with this, the kind of fields I would create in Flash if I were creating the program in Flash. Labels, pictures, captions, labels, text boxes, interactions, all this kind of thing make up the screen. And then I have, on this screen as view, I show kind of the main text associated with that screen so I can get an idea of what's there. And if I go in and I can do backlinks from this screen so I can find out where that particular learning object is used in a lesson or a course. And I've got the same thing for lessons. I can select a lesson by different criteria. If this is a lesson on alcohol intoxication, I can actually go in and look at what's the development status of this lesson, what screens are associated with this, what learning objects. I've set up a view here where I can kind of get a feel for the lesson just by looking at kind of the main text associated with that lesson, and I can go in and edit each one of the screens from here. And I'm structuring a lesson. These are all screens or RLOs within the lesson, so I can drag and drop and order screens, RLOs within the lesson. I can add screens, I can remove them. So essentially this is part of my assembly mechanism for assembling lessons from RLOs. I can do the same thing with courses, and I can do the same thing with data. What is this? I can't even see it. Anyway, I've got a rudimentary workflow associated with this, so I can associate tasks with RLOs and prioritize them and so forth. And I keep track of particular data items, like a particular fact, marijuana contains over 400 chemicals. I have a data item associated with that. I can find out where that fact is used in different learning objects, where those learning objects are used and so forth. And it's really important for me to know where the source is, so I can track sources for different pieces of data. Track this back to the report by the Institute of Medicine. I know when I last accessed that information, how to find that information, and so forth. And this is just really kind of the assembly piece. The pieces that still need to be built are things like a more sophisticated authoring system, a front end to it, so I really can use this back-end information in mobile devices, tablets, smartphones, desktops. But the content would all be there. It's just a matter of maybe creating a different view of that content and then putting a front end of that content for different devices. And that's about it. That's about as far as I've gotten. And then it's a matter of taking, once I've created a lesson or a course, packaging that with SCORM data so I can run it in the LMS. But what I wanted to show is that I really think there's a possibility here to create an LCMS in Drupal, and there really is a market opportunity for this, because there really is nothing open source out there. And it's something that companies that develop a lot of learning need. And the commercial and proprietary options are really expensive. Did that make sense?
Yes. So then the RLO or your screen is actually a level below course.
The way I do it is I combine RLOs into a lesson, and then a lesson into a course, and then a course into a program. Yeah.
So there's 4 levels.
And not everything when you write this stuff is going to be reusable. You may have non-reusable objects that are really, but that you use with the reusable objects to create context, so that you can actually create like a storyline. There may be some glue that goes between it that says, in the previous, in the previous screens or in the last lesson you learned this, that kind of thing. But that's tagged as not reusable content. But it's kind of the glue that sometimes is used to hold these things together.
Are you looking forward to creating like a profile on Drupal.org?
For this?
For this?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not a developer.
No, I know.
And I've put feelers out in the community to see if anybody's, but I can't find many people who are looking at this even. I mean,
I already did that, so we should talk.
Okay, good.
Why are you still using Flash?
I don't want to use Flash. I want to get out of Flash.
You're still using Flash in this presentation.
This is a Captivate presentation.
Oh, even worse.
I know. But most of my clients, I develop custom e-learning. My clients are using Captivate. That's what they want me to use.
absolutely awful. It's
I know.
horrible.
Yeah.
But can you clarify something for me? Because I haven't worked with Captivate. I don't know what that is, but
Thank God.
Am I understanding it correctly? Like the other the learning system that you're putting together just puts it into like this piece, and then when you want to edit it, you have to review the whole thing.
That's the way my courses are right now. And that's the way it pretty much is in Captivate.
Right, and that's what I'm understanding. So what this could accomplish is basically breaking up the content for every lesson, program, course into chunks. So then you can attach that metadata, edit a piece, and then the content management system Drupal will then package it to be put that in there. But what's missing are the LMS portion of it.
Yeah, and to me,
Track the users.
and that's really not the LCMS. That's the LMS.
That's Opigno or
Yeah,
Opigno
or Elms or whatever, Blackboard. And I don't want that functionality in the LCMS. I mean, because I want whatever I develop to work with any LMS.
yeah, because what he and I do, we import our content into our users' elements.
Yeah.
So our customers are basically unzipping our content into their whatever they use, which could be
Anything.
Skillsoft
or
whatever.
Right, so this is replacing, because right now my company, we're using Instructure Canvas,
Yeah.
and we're creating content in Captivate.
that's exactly the
So this would be
situation.
replacing Captivate with different content types, and you can put whatever in and just sort of mesh it all together.
And ideally you tag it, and then when you want to create a lesson, you find the content by searching, browsing, and it's going to be things related to a particular topic. And then within that, you can pull that out and assemble it in whatever order you want to.
Do you mind if I step in?
No, please.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think I have an idea on how to explain it.
Yeah.
So let's say you want to teach somebody how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Right. This is one of the things that we use to test for with customer services. Teach me how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. And the first thing they say is, you take peanut butter and put it on a piece of bread, then I know they're not going to be any good customer service.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's bread? Or what's peanut butter? Where do I get the peanut butter? How much peanut butter do I need? Do I use a knife or a spoon or a fork? So related to that, you want to teach somebody how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. One of the reusable learning objects would be spreading peanut butter. Another one would be using a knife. Another one would be toasting bread. Another one would be cutting a sandwich. Another one would be toasting jam. Another one might be, what is jam? And so you put what is jam with what is peanut butter, spreading jam, using a knife, toasting bread together, and you have probably a third of the courses that you need for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you can reuse that, sorry to interrupt you, but you can reuse the same stuff for making a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Because all you need is a banana are reusable, what do you call them? RLOs?
Reusable learning objects.
Banana RLO, and then you have a peanut butter and banana sandwich. That's what I'm talking about.
You can't
Forget about
pull out
Captivate.
those chunks. I'm just trying to.
Well, you can create small. You can create small chunks of Captivate learning, like maybe it's a 30-second or a 1-minute chunk, but then you have to create another separate Captivate thing, and and then you've got to when you put it in the LMS, you have to develop like a learning path so that the LMS will know to play this one and then play this one. Or that's right. Or you could create a multi-scope package where you combine them before you submit them to the LMS and that kind of thing. But it's a cumbersome process. And you don't have the metadata that lets you go find in these.
Imagine making a course out of Camtasia. Or for that matter, take the recording from this camera and turn that into a score and conforming course. You know how much work that would be? Cutting each individual minute and then going back in and backfilling. Well, this piece, this 5-minute segment that he's talking about relates to RLOs. He could reuse that 5-minute RLO piece in 27 other modules, but only if you had an intro and outro for it. How are you going to do that with one giant hour-long recording? And that's exactly what Captivate does. Not only that, but it also renders the entire object into Flash and 16 other forms that all have to be in the same file. So now you have a 300 meg file for a 1-minute class.
Right. So for this,
And
you
it
put
doesn't
different
play on mobile
content
phones.
types of video,
Yeah.
screenshot.
And there's a digital asset management component to it that lets you track all those digital assets too. Whether it's a picture of a peanut butter jelly sandwich, you know?
So for a company per se.
And that may be one thing you use in your RLO is the picture of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right, so if like the workflow or something is the same, but we update one little piece, then we don't have to review the whole
Exactly.
process, you can just.
And ideally, if you've got this peanut butter and jelly sandwich image used in 27 RLOs, you update it one place and it updates everywhere.
Right. Brand new brand of peanut butter. If you have one customer that would rather have you teach the class where you spread the jam first, not the peanut butter, then all you have to do is drag the objects like that, instead of recreating a whole new Captivate module that would have to be recreated.
So the LCMS is replacing RCAPs, not playing along with RCAPs.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But the RCATs have some fairly valuable authoring capabilities, timelines, being able to make objects appear, disappear, and those kind of things. And you either lose some of that or you find a way to do it with things like jQuery, JavaScript, UI components, those kind of things.
So when you're
HTML5, CSS3. I mean, that's another piece. Like, I've probably got 20 different types of custom interactions in my Flash courses. I don't know that I need all of those, but I need to find a way to recreate some of those types of interactions in HTML5 and JavaScript.
Plus, you don't have to install the plugin.
Right. Which is not going to work on the mobile devices anyway.
Itself be an RLO.
Hmm?
Could
Yes,
the interaction
exactly.
Itself be like
Yeah.
a kind of
Like a configurable
right.
RLO. Yeah, absolutely.
So then when you're done with the course in the LCMS, would you then package it into a SCORM or an XAPI to deliver to another LMS?
Well, this
Play
is,
with those standards?
the way it works right now is I package up all the files associated with my Flash course and I ship it off to the LMS.
Right.
And they load it onto their system.
So I'm
And
assuming you still need to play with other LMSs.
I need to play with it, but ideally,
You still need to package it. I
ideally,
mean, ideally you just run it on your own.
ideally I have a dynamic connection to the LMS. Ideally, I have a dynamic connection to the LMS, and there's no files that I ship up to the LMS. It's all, huh?
Good luck with that.
I know. Well, I think I found somebody that can do that.
No, I mean the LMS itself. Like most
Oh.
of them are going to be so like
Right.
gotta be separate. We don't want to mess.
Yeah, and if you're hosting all the content on your own LCMS, then you can run it all, but assuming you use a package.
Or maybe I run it all off my servers and I just have a link to the LMS.
Yeah.
You know. So, does that help in terms of kind of conceptualizing what this is supposed to do, and how it kind of fits in that? Huh?
Makes me feel less insane.
Yeah, no.
Or that you just found something else as insane as you.
I did have a question about e-commerce. When you said Opigno had e-commerce, does that mean that if I have Opigno, I don't need my own e-commerce? Like I could have done without any commerce on my website and Opigno handles it all? Or are you saying it connects to my e-commerce?
You can integrate with any e-commerce if you have an own e-commerce, but they have an inbuilt.
Opigno with my e-commerce.
Yes.
But I could have also have used their e-commerce.
Yes, they have an.
Which is a Drupal e-commerce, right?
Yeah, Drupal e-commerce.
Yeah,
Drupal
it's
commerce. Drupal commerce.
Yeah. Thanks. That's another 150,000 I should have saved right there.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.